Welcome to The Explainer. I am so pumped you're joining me today. We are going to completely dissect the cognitive engine that drives expert split-second decision-making. We're getting into Dr. Micah Ensley's foundational paper toward a theory of situation awareness in dynamic systems. The goal? Unpacking exactly how the human brain actually manages ridiculously complex, high-stakes environments and making this cognitive science super clear and actionable for you.
Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine, for a second, you're strapped into the cockpit of a fighter jet going supersonic. Or maybe you're sitting in a major air traffic control tower staring at a crowded radar screen. You are literally being bombarded. Hundreds, maybe thousands of flashing data points, alarms blaring, radios chattering. Yet, the absolute best operators can instantly cut through all that noise and make the perfect, life-saving call in a fraction of a second. No way, right? How is that humanly possible? What on earth is happening inside their brains?
Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll decode split-second decisions, break down the 3 levels of situation awareness, peek under the hood at the cognitive engine itself, see what happens when situation awareness completely fails, and finally, look at designing for human limits.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Decoding Split-Second Decisions, moving way beyond just the corporate buzzword.
So you've probably heard the term situational awareness, or SA, tossed around in meetings, right? Usually it's just a fancy way of saying pay attention. But as Dr. Ensley's research points out, SA is actually a rigorously defined, measurable scientific framework. It literally dictates human performance. To really grasp the gravity of this, consider the tragic 1988 USS Vincennes incident. The crew mistakenly shot down a commercial airliner. The crazy part? They had all the radar data right in front of them, but confusing signals and terrible interface issues basically shattered their mental picture. They didn't make a bad choice based on good info, they made what they thought was the right choice based on totally corrupted situational awareness. Simply having the data doesn't mean you actually understand it. Let's look at how Ensley formally defines it. Situation awareness is the perception of elements in the environment, the comprehension of their meaning, and the projection of their near-future status. Basically, it's a very specific state of knowledge. And here is the kicker. It is completely separate from the actual decision you make. You can have absolutely flawless SA and still make a terrible choice, or have awful SA and just get lucky. But if you want to make consistently good decisions, highly accurate situation awareness is absolutely crucial.
Moving on to Section 2, the 3 levels of SA and how we actually build that mental picture. You see, situation awareness isn't just one giant lump of knowledge. It's a hierarchical structure. It builds up sequentially. Think of it kind of like a giant puzzle. Level 1 is perception. That's just seeing the puzzle pieces scattered on the table, like reading an altimeter or hearing a warning beep. Level 2 is comprehension. That's actually putting those pieces together and realizing, oh, this specific altitude and speed means I'm in a dangerous dive. And then there's Level 3, projection. This is guessing what the puzzle looks like before it's even finished. It's knowing that if you don't pull up right now, you're going to hit the ground in exactly 10 seconds. Hitting Level 3, that is the ultimate hallmark of a true expert.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how all these concepts come together into a master blueprint. Right in the center, you've got those 3 levels of SA. And notice how that entire block happens before any decision or action takes place. Then, check out all the inputs feeding into it. Down below, you've got individual factors, stuff like your personal goals, experience, and memory limits. Up top, there are system factors, like your workload or how a dashboard is designed. All of these different forces are constantly converging to either build up or completely tear down those 3 levels of situational awareness.
All right, into Section 3, the cognitive engine of SA. Time to look under the hood. We know these 3 levels exist, but what's actually powering them? Like, how do our memory and attention physically dictate what we perceive and predict? Let's trace the wiring here. Up at the top, you have your incredibly limited supply of attention, and that feeds straight into working memory. Now, working memory is a massive bottleneck. If you drop a total novice into a complex situation, they literally have to hold every single new piece of data in their working memory just to try and figure out what's happening. It is completely overwhelming. But experts? They don't get overwhelmed. And the reason is they rely on the structures you see down at the bottom. Long-term memory.
Basically, experts completely bypass that working memory bottleneck by using mental models and scripts. You can think of a mental model as a highly detailed cheat code. After years and years of training, an expert has built a model in their long-term memory for almost every conceivable scenario. So the moment they spot a few key data points, that's level 1, their brain instantly pattern matches it to a stored model. Bam! They instantly get level 2 comprehension and level 3 projection, practically running on autopilot. To keep those mental models fed, our brains are basically running a dual-process system 24/7. First, you have top-down processing. This is totally goal-driven. Say your goal is to land an airplane, you're actively scanning the runway, hunting for specific patterns like landing lights. But at the exact same time, you're running bottom-up processing. This is data-driven. This kicks in when, say, a loud fire alarm suddenly blares. It instantly hijacks your attention and forces you to completely drop what you're doing and reevaluate your goals.
And this brilliantly illustrates the cycle of how our goals essentially dictate our reality. Our active goals actually select which mental model we're pulling from, and that model directs our attention out into the environment. This is a game changer. We do not process everything around us, not even close. We only process the parts of the environment that actually matter to our current active goal. If the environment suddenly shifts or our plan falls apart, we have to immediately swap out that mental model and grab entirely new goals.
Which brings us to Section 4. When situation awareness fails, let's look at the anatomy of error.
So, what happens when this incredible cognitive engine just breaks down? Well, because Ensley mapped SA into 3 distinct levels, we can actually categorize human error with laser precision. Major disasters rarely just happen. They almost always stem from a very specific, localized cognitive failure. A level 1 error? That just means the data was never perceived. Maybe a warning beep was too quiet. A level 2 error means you saw the data but completely misunderstood what it meant. And a level 3 error, that's when you understand exactly what's happening right now, but your mental model fails you and you can't predict the impending disaster.
Just to show you how terrifyingly easy a level 1 error can be, look at the 1972 L-1011 crash in the Florida Everglades. The entire flight crew got so hyperfixated on one single tiny burned-out light bulb for the landing gear indicator. Under all that stress, their attention narrowed so drastically that literally no one noticed the autopilot had disengaged and the plane was slowly descending right into the swamp. It's called attentional narrowing, and it is a classic, absolutely deadly level 1 perception failure.
So what actually cripples our situational awareness? We just saw how high workload and stress cause attentional narrowing. Throw in overly complex systems, and you completely fry the working memory. But honestly, one of the most insidious threats we face today? Automation complacency. When a system is doing everything on autopilot, the human operator just becomes a passive monitor. They get pushed completely out of the loop. Then, when that automation inevitably glitches or fails, the human has zero situational awareness and literally cannot catch up fast enough to save the system.
Let's move to our 5th and final section, designing for human limits.
So how do we fix this? How can system designers actually patch these catastrophic vulnerabilities? Let's move to and see how this builds our understanding of system flaws. Tracing the path from the real world on one side to the final essay on the other, you see that information can get lost at every single gap. The system sensors might just miss the data entirely, the interface might fail to display it. But the really critical points are where the interface fails to transmit the knowledge into the human's brain simply because of bad design. Bottom line, if the interface doesn't speak the brain's language, situation awareness crashes.
The solution here is pretty clear. We've got to stop just throwing raw data at operators. It doesn't work. Good system design has to actively filter out the extraneous noise. It needs to organize information around what the operator is actually trying to achieve right now, rather than just burying it in nested menus. But most importantly, we have to design systems that instantly hand the operator level 2 comprehension and level 3 projections. Let the computer do the heavy computational lifting. That frees up the human's very limited working memory to do what it does best, make the actual critical decisions.
Which leaves us with a pretty massive question to end on. We've just seen how incredibly delicate and complex this cognitive engine of situation awareness truly is. Knowing that human working memory is literally the ultimate bottleneck, take a hard look at the dashboards, the software, the tools you interact with every single day. Are they actually designed to support your human limits, or are they actively working against them? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into situation awareness. I really hope this explainer has completely changed how you look at decision-making in complex environments. Until next time, keep analyzing and stay aware.